Welcome back to another daily update here in the TandemCTelevision studios, and the workshop's back up and running. So we're getting back to work on CCG 2084, starting with the centerpiece of the garage that'll be part of that series. Don't go anywhere. If you remember back to a previous daily update, we started building a robotic arm that's going to act as the main car lift in the Creepy Crawler's garage we're going to be using in the new series CCG 2084. And if you're new to the channel, or just for a reminder, we are going to be shooting a new series hopefully soon called CCG 2084. And basically it's what I'm going to be calling cinematic run videos. So it's RC videos set in an apocalyptic cyberpunk world. So we're building an entire world along with a new Creepy Crawler's garage that lives inside that world and all the vehicles that occupy that world. Anyway, so in the Creepy Crawler's garage, the centerpiece is going to be this robotic arm that we've already started building. Now, this arm is a little too shiny. Remember, this is an apocalyptic world. All the parts and pieces of this garage that the guys used in the new Creepy Crawler's garage are sourced from outside in this apocalyptic world. It's parts that they bring in or things that they scavenge and bring into the garage to use. Again, it's not like you can just run down to the nearest hardware store. You got to kind of scrap together what you need. So this shiny robotic arm probably isn't going to work. We're going to need to make this a little less shiny. So the first step in doing that is I'm just going to coat it all with a top coat, a dull coat top coat. So I just basically, and just using a brush, I don't want to spray it on, so I need to be real careful because this is going to be a working piece. So it is going to, if you remember right, it's controlled by a PlayStation style controller, so it does actually work. So when I brush on the top coat or this dull coat, I need to be real careful. There's a big bearing in it. There's bearings, there's servos, there's pivot points. I don't want to seize any of that up. So I'm just going to use a brush. Again, I don't really care if it's just, actually I'd like it to be a little bit of a rougher coat anyways. So I just brush on this top coat, or this dull coat top coat. And once that top coat is dry, I want to take some 220 sandpaper and I'm just going to start hitting the edges. I want to give it some real wear marks, some dings, just make it look really worn. This has been in, an apocalyptic world. Who knows where this came from, what it went through in the previous life it lived. So I really want to scratch it up, give it some nice wear marks. And I do that starting with 220 grit, and then I actually move on to some 100 grit to give it even heavier gouges. So the 220 grit kind of wore down the edges. The 100 grit is going to give it some gouging into the aluminum pieces. And again, being careful, this is a working piece, so I can't hit anything that's actually a moving part or actually a pivot part or a bearing or anything like that. So being careful, but I do want to gouge it up and give it some real wear marks. Now I'm going to move on to adding some paint to it, and I have a black paint, a blood red paint, and some earth brown paint. And so I'm going to start with the black paint. What I want to do with it is just give it a little bit of splatter. I'm just going to use a paint and some splatter some black on there. I actually diluted a little. Well, first I went with just solid black splatters, and then I diluted it and splattered it again, just to give it some noise, essentially. Some black marks. It could be grease, it could be dirt, it could be grime, it could be paint from wherever it was before, some overspray paint. But I just want to give it some splatters, and then I'm going to use that blood red paint and make it look like maybe something bad happened. So I'm just going to kind of smear some red and make it look like it's dripping down the sides. And I don't know, maybe it's just red paint. Maybe it's just red paint that's spilled on there, or maybe something happened bad in the past history of this piece. Maybe a little something, went down. Maybe somebody just cleaned a deer on top of it. I don't know. But there's some red marks on it now. And I'm going to use the earth brown on the bottom plate. I really want to make it look dirty. I'm going to use it in kind of a dry brush fashion. So I really dry out the brush. And then just kind of splatter it on there, or brush it on, dry brush it on, and then just get a real dirty coat on the piece along the bottom. Make it look like people's been walking along there and just dirt and grime has accumulated. With those few just simple steps, it's already starting to look grimy and used and like it's been taken out of a bit of the apocalyptic world. I've got some other things I want to do yet though. It's already looking good, but there's a few more things I think that'll take it over the top, and we'll take a look at those. As soon as we come back, let's break for a commercial real quick. When we come back, I got a few more ideas that I really think that'll make this look like it got pulled out of the apocalyptic world and put into the garage, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, and thanks for sticking around. Now, if you've watched some of my previous daily updates, you know one trick that can really make something look like it came out of an apocalyptic world is to add some graffiti to it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. In fact, I'm going to use some of the printed graffiti I had made previous daily update when we did Willie's Bar and Grill. I'm going to use some of that graffiti on this robotic arm to really make it look like it got pulled out of an apocalyptic world. Maybe it was sitting in an abandoned warehouse where the kids went in and started tagging everything up, and then it's been pulled out and brought into the garage. But it really gives it that, to me, it really gives it that apocalyptic look. And then I've also got some brown wash, a diluted brown paint, and a homemade rust that I'm going to use. And I'm going to use the brown wash first. And basically what I'm going to use it for is to make it look like maybe some oil leaks. Maybe there was some hydraulic leaks in the past, or fixed problems, and where it had leaked and just kind of stained up. So what I do is I just use the brown wash, and I let gravity do the work. I want to kind of just I'll draw it down with the brush, but also let gravity just pull it down, make it look like maybe just some kind of oil leaks or whatever. And then I'll use some diluted brown or some of that diluted earth tone to really kind of give a grimy look, to add to maybe some grease and grime in some of the crevices, and in some of the pivot points. Again, being careful not to, I don't want to paint into them where it's going to jam up any of those joints, but I do want to make them look greasy and grimy. And then the last step, which really puts it over the top, I think, is using some of what I just call homemade rust. Basically, if you take some steel wool and you add some vinegar and basically put the steel wool in a bottle, fill it with vinegar, let it sit outside for a few days. Basically, it makes rust paint. It's literally rust in paint form. And I'm going to add that to it, and that really gives it that grimy look and that dirty look. And I add it liberally. Use it liberally, because what we can do is come back with a rag and wipe it down. We can wipe it off, almost like a wash, like you would wipe back a wash, and it leaves it in the crevices and in the nooks and crannies, and really gives it a rusty, grimy look. And to me, that really kind of tops it off. And then I've got one more trick that I want to do. I've got some old wire, so I'm going to stick some frayed wire, and I have to put the camera down to really be able to do this two-handed. But I stick some frayed wire, just make it look like there's been a cut wire. Maybe it's a repaired wire, but we got some bare wire sticking out. And then from a Tamiya kit I have, from a Tamiya weathering kit, I just used some dry rust to hit the edges of all the servos. So basically what I tried to make this look like is the blue parts are aluminum, and then all the black pieces are, I don't know, iron or steel or whatever, something that'll rust or get kind of rusty. So that's why I hit the edges of like the servos and whatnot with this dry rust pigment from a Tamiya kit to kind of make that look like it's rusting. But anyway, so everything said and done, I think it's turned out pretty well. I think it really has, I think it looks a lot closer to being out of an apocalyptic world. I'm going to keep working on it. This is basically what I was able to get done today, later this evening. I'm going to keep working on it, keep detailing it up. I think I might change out some of the graffiti. Some of it I don't like, some of it I do. Might add some more. But I'll keep working on it and really fine tune it. We'll take a look at it probably tomorrow, see kind of the final product. But this is kind of the process I was going through to get this to look apocalyptic, to bring it into the shop that's going to be set in CCG 2084. Now, we do need to build a platform that's going to cover all the electronics, and that's where, and there'll be a control center where one of the employees will be able to stand and control, or at least look like they're controlling the arm, that'll be lifting parts and moving them around there in the garage. So we still have to build that. I don't know if I'll be able to do that tomorrow or not, but hopefully we'll get on that soon. I'll definitely update you when we get it done. But also I wanted to point out before we go, I don't know if you noticed yesterday, I ran an advertisement saying that we do have a 10% off code over at the Teespring store. So if you're interested in any merchandise from the channel, hit the link down below for the Teespring and use 10 now as a promo code, and you'll get 10% off whatever, all the products in the Teespring shop. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure and use that. Leave me a comment down below and give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed. It really does help in the YouTube algorithm. Unfortunately, that's the YouTube world we live in now. You got to hit that thumbs up button and leave comments. That's what the algorithm's looking for. So I appreciate it if you do that. Hit the subscribe button if you want to keep up with all the different builds and updates. And when the CCG 2484 comes out, which won't be too long, it'll keep you updated as to when they come out. So hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.